G'day and welcome to Daily Insights and Storytellings with me, Moon Willow. It's a real privilege and honour to have you watch these videos, and a really strangely, and I do find it a little strange, that I can actually feel your energies as I'm doing this, and I'm really honoured that you're taking the time out in your days to actually listen to the stories that I tell. What I've noticed today, I know that it sort of happened once or twice more recently, but it feels really a lot stronger today, is I have this real sense, especially around my crown and third eye chakra, of information coming through, but it's like I haven't quite figured out how to take that veil back. And I notice that when I'm doing these storytellings that I get thoughts come through. So I'm feeling today that there is quite a bit that wants to come through, but I'm not entirely sure what that's to do with. I know as well recently that that a lot of my life at the minute is to do with working out how to balance my energies, balance my needs on a very physical level, and how to actually maintain my energy to do the other things that I really enjoy, like doing these storytellings. And I find that can be difficult sometimes, and I have a feeling that I'm not alone in that there is a lot of us that I don't know whether struggling is the right word, but having almost like a conflict of interest, that we're having to attend to living in the current world as it is, and the amount of information that we allow to filter through into our day-to-day lives, and then how we negotiate giving ourselves and allowing ourselves that time and space to be, and to rest and to nurture and to be present. And I feel that it is very important at this moment to really be present with ourselves, notice what we're feeling, notice whether we've got a disconnect with any aspect of our life, whether we have a disconnect with Earth or Gaia underneath our feet, a disconnect with the flow of the universe. And I have noticed, especially over this past couple of months, and I've noticed that it's happening almost on a daily basis, that there is a lot more synchronicities happening, and the flow, if I allow it, and I know that it is a case of getting out of my own way, that the universe is actually hearing what I want and is trying to enable that to come through. And even if that is something that may have an impact on a more mundane level, that I have a underlying sense and an underlying feel that it's all happening at the right time. And I've had the words in my head several times today of divine timing. And if we push, it's like pushing a river up a hill, that if we're trying to make something happen too quickly, or we get worried about the timing of it, that we're expending too much energy. We're pushing, as I say, pushing a river up a hill, as opposed to allowing ourselves that the way of moving forward, and stepping in time, and stepping in the time that we want, and stepping into the frequencies that actually fit more comfortably. And I know I've been talking a lot recently about lost the thought, sort of talking a lot about getting to sort of blinkered, and sort of getting talking about sort of like our normal state and what's familiar to us, and that familiarity in living a stressful life, or a worried life, or an anxious life, or a fearful life. And that's the norm. So it's almost like that's what we invite in. And I'm noticing for myself, at least, and I'm hoping that sort of this is resonating for others out there, that if we sort of try and stay in that now moment, find that internal balance and external balance, that we become aware as where the next step needs to be. And remembering that if we've been given space to simply be, to meditate, to look after ourselves, to nurture ourselves, and not get caught up in the external dynamics, that we actually utilize that in that particular way. Because there is the temptation that if we're suddenly made to sit still, and this has happened time and again this year with everything that's going off, that we're having to isolate and sort of spend a lot more time inside, that we're actually not getting caught up in the worry of what that may produce in the long run on a physical level, that we may not have enough money, that there's not enough food, we might lose the roof over our heads, things like that. And actually using that and taking that as a boon, and having that as and utilizing that as a chance to breathe, as a chance to just sit, allowing things to come up so that we can actually look at it and integrate that in us completely, and just using the time that's given to us in the manner that it is given. So not robbing ourselves of that space by cluttering our minds with worry about concerns that realistically we have no major control over, that's outside of our remit, really. And really coming back in and nurturing ourselves and utilizing that time and space to really get a sense of what it is how we want to walk forward, how we want to live our lives, and then noticing sort of what sort of information we're bringing through. Are we bringing through a lot of fear-induced media stuff, or are we actually turning that off and putting music on so that we can move and we can dance, we can create through cooking, sort of, and other things like that, that can actually nourish our souls and give us a depth to our lives that doesn't actually cost anything, and doesn't cost us not only money, but cost us energy, because we're actually recreating or giving ourselves extra energy every time we do something that we can really enjoy, that nourishes our soul. Actually has the added benefit of giving us extra energy, that we're more able to then deal with going outside our house, paying bills, things like that. We've got that additional health and support and the additional extra energy to actually cope and navigate the world that we're presented with. And then if we've got that, we can feel ourselves centered, we can feel ourselves balanced, we can feel ourselves grounded, and have that interconnectedness, that when we start negotiating and navigating externally in the world at large, then we can actually remain in that bubble. I don't really want to use that word because of the connotations it has in our society at the moment. But having that protective space that I was talking about yesterday, so that we can actually maneuver forward and be less impacted by the external emotions and external triggers, and just walk forward in peace, as it were. So I'm now intrigued to find out what the crystals, which chakra. Oh, we had one jump in straight away. So we've got clear quartz, so which works really well because that's the crown chakra. And as I say, my crown chakra has been really buzzy today and almost working overtime. So really that connection with the divine, with source energy, with things that are greater than us, but it's not to have power over us, it's to help empower us to actually feel that connection, so we can feel that additional support and gain the benefits of the synchronicities that the universe is bringing in for us. So as we've created an internal landscape of what we would like to experience, the way we would like to experience the world, then sort of the external, the divine, our higher self, will help create that world for us to walk in. And I know that sounds quite strange, but it's something that I've experienced time and time again, to the point that I know that it works. But there are times when I lose that, then I put veils back over, I put curtains back over, and I get caught in the worry, I get caught in the underlying emotions. Sometimes it could be called base emotions of worried about lack, worried about things going wrong, and inevitably by getting caught up in that cycle, not noticing the gifts and the synchronicities that are coming from divine, that it also helps create that negative space and that negative world to walk in. So, and clear quartz, as I was saying the other day, is very much about holding up and looking at things with clear eyes. It's taking back the veils. It's acknowledging our part that we play in everything that's going off around it. And although there are many aspects of what's happening in the world at the moment with the different energies, etc., that we don't have a control over, we do have a control over how we respond to it and how we allow it to impact us. So very much using the clear quartz to find that crystal clarity in what's going off and having a look underneath. So almost like using it as a magnifying glass, really having a look underneath as to the language that's used around us, as to the situations that are created, and really getting a sense of how you would like to respond to that, how we'd like to respond to that, and noticing sort of the use of language, how emotive it can be sometimes to produce a specific response. Bizarrely, I'm reminded of Roadhouse and the main character in that. He was talking to bouncers, and one of the characters said, "What if somebody called my mum this horrible two-named word?" And the response from that character was, that is just two nouns put together to elicit a prescribed response. And I really feel that the media and different parts of the world at the moment are utilising the English language in just that way. And they're putting things across and twisting almost, or misrepresenting figures, numbers, different things to elicit a response from people that makes you end up, that would push you into wanting to fear, push you into being anxious, put you into that space of concern, anxiety, stress. And it's up to us to take a step back and really look at the words that they're using, the way that they're presenting stuff, so that we can see the underlying end game and really then be able to choose how we react and how we respond to the information that's presented to us from a more whole, more balanced place. And then we can then decide how we do want to react, or how we let that impact us. So on that note, we'll go into the cards and see what else comes out. So if you could focus on the cards while I shuffle all your energy for me, please. And we'll split. And we'll see what 3 cards come out. Okay, so we've got the Scythe, House, and the Tower. So starting, I think we've moved, hey ho. Starting with the Scythe, so, and linking it into the clear crystal, and with that particular thought process, that actually as we're looking at what's being presented to us by all sorts of different sources, if we take that step back, bear with me, I'm going to just straighten you all up, or straighten me up as the case may be. So as we take the step back, we can actually see the different hooks that are used and the lines as they come in. So we notice a certain particular word or statement, or figures presented in a certain way. And if we have a look under it, we can actually see that that is, as I say, used to elicit a certain response, that the certain figures are meant to create fear. Certain figures are meant to make us feel like we're not worthy. Certain words are used to stress, to create a stress, to create worry, to create anxiety. And by taking a step back and using the clear quartz and using discernment and seeing exactly the words that are put forward, the different tables, etc., we can actually start to see how that's coming in and impacting us. And I think the Scythe in this particular instance is so that we can cut that from us, because a lot of the words and everything that are used is so that we lose energy, and we can become quite depleted, because we end up running around like a headless chicken, or Chicken Little. The sky's falling in, the sky's falling in. And it's not to say to not take things seriously. I'm not suggesting that. I'm not suggesting that sometimes our lives do become dire and we need to do something about it. But what's coming through for me at the minute is the level that we take that in. So if we end up running around like a headless chicken, or Chicken Little with the sky falling in, we will lose a lot of energy, and that will end up making us feel tired. It'll help deplete us. And what we need to do and try and do is actually take that away from us, really look at it and cut those ties, those hooks that are actually encouraging us to lose energy. encouraging us to be fearful instead of actually truly honoring and getting that internal balance. And in that internal balance we gain energy. So it's actually noticing where we're giving away energy, or what is creating a waste of energy inside, because there are some things we can't do anything about it, and worrying and getting stressed about it is not going to solve the situation. It's actually going to end up us losing all this energy, pushing up a river, up a hill, and that ends up depleting our energy, which ends up feeding into that fear, that worry, that stress, because it's that vicious cycle of the running around headless chicken and Chicken Little. It's wasting energy to the point where it is even more difficult to get up and seize the opportunities that the divine, that synchronicities are presenting to us, because we're getting too internally focused and losing too much energy. Whereas if we've worked out the bits that are actually encouraging that in us and cutting them, then we're not losing that energy, we're actually holding that energy, which will actually give us the ability to look at it more clearly, so that we can navigate and come out of our situation more effectively. So the next card is the House, and I really feel that within these storytellings, that the House is very much about our bodies, about the house that holds our souls. So part of the problem, if we're running around like a headless chicken, is that we are expending energy, we're making ourselves more tired, we're depleting energy to a level that it does have a physiological aspect. The more run down we are, and I know that we've all experienced this at least once, if not 100 times in our lives, that if we're feeling really run down, that we're not getting enough sleep, we're not eating properly, we're constantly worried, that actually makes us more susceptible to illnesses, viruses, etc. coming in. And we need to look after our bodies, so that when we want to move our soul, or we're taking our soul in a particular path, that we actually have the vehicle to do that with. So I really feel that it's important that as we notice the triggers, the bits that make us react in a certain way, we can actually cut that, so that we can look after ourselves more. And if we start getting too much information coming through and we can't deal with it, that's fine. Turn off that source. Don't have to listen to it. We can actually just go and put our head in a book for a while. Or, I don't know, I play solitaire, but doing something, listening to music, dancing around, making ourselves a good meal, something that is really focused on nurturing ourselves. So really looking after the house, our body, so that when we have to deal with things on the outside, from the outside world, we're actually doing it from a more solid base. We're in a balanced position. If we're feeling out of sync, if we're not feeling grounded, if we're not feeling connected internally or down to ground, it doesn't take much to wobble us. And I'm pretty certain we've all had good night sleeps and rough night sleeps, and after a good night's sleep we can just about cope with anything that's thrown at us. If we've had a bad night or a very disrupted night's sleep, it usually is only the smallest of things that can really upset us and take us off kilter, take us off balance. So I really feel that it's important to use the clear quartz at the moment, and really use the discernment that we've got access to, and actually start to cut those ties that are actually having a negative impact on us, that is taking away more of our energy. Because at the moment, with the energies outside, the external energies of the light and the dark, all of that, there is such that war going off. It's a very sort of turbulent time, and unless we actually take the time to sit down, to nurture, to balance ourselves, get that equilibrium, we're more inclined to actually become ill and get more rocked. So it's really tending to our physical selves and noticing where we're losing energy and cutting that. So really using the clear quartz in that particular regard. And then the last card today is the Tower. So this is very much about spirit and people watching over us. So similar to the cross in that regard, but it's like this one seems to be more to do with spiritual health, and a little bit about ancestors, a little bit about those that have passed over, and that they're watching us and supporting us. So even if they're people that had that not necessarily nurturing elements when they were alive, I really feel that when people pass over, that if they're coming back to look after us or watch us, when we notice that through robins or feathers, etc., that it's done from a place of pure love, of sort of the unconditional divine love, because I feel that they go back to source, go back to their soul families, but some of them want to come back to make sure that we're doing all right, or trying to repair things that went wrong in the past. So I really have this sense, this energy, especially if we're looking after our bodies that are holding our souls, that as we connect through our crown into source, that those that have passed over or gone before, whether that's ancestors, friends, relations, everybody's our relations, that they're actually there to help provide that additional support, that give us or find ways to find more energy to negotiate and navigate what's going off at the moment. It feels very much like that, and it's very much also the other sort of side of that for me is the connection with our soul families and our higher self and our spirit guides. And I feel that that's sort of with the additional sort of tingling in my crown, that it's my guides trying to come through to sort of speak with me or present information. The thing is, I haven't quite worked out how to hear them, but I know that they're there. So what helps me is acknowledging that I know that messages are trying to get through, but I can't quite hear them. But it's acknowledging it. It's sort of noticing what's going off with us as well. It's noticing what's going off with our bodies, that it's noticing when we're feeling tired and taking a rest, or acknowledging if a rest is not possible at that moment, that you can hear what your body's trying to say to you. So also, if your higher self or your spirit guides, guardian angels, whoever that is, coming from source, coming from something greater than ourselves, that we're acknowledging that they are there, and that it's not that you don't want to listen to them, but it's that you are unable to at the moment. But it's starting up that dialogue. So it's also noticing if you've got a pain, or you're feeling out of sync, or it's not out of balance. It's acknowledging that, and by acknowledging that, it can bring something else up to the surface to actually enable you to balance more fully. So I'm hoping this is making sense to people out there. But for me, the Tower at the moment is that we are being watched, not in a negative way, but supported is, I think, a better word. But really being supported and being helped to be taken care of from a source higher than ourselves. And then even if everything feels or sort of on a more physical level, or on a logical level, on a thought level, that everything feels overwhelming and there's too much information coming in, or things aren't going right, all of that. It's remembering that it's time to take time to not get caught up in that, but to actually settle back into your heart space, settle up into your crown, and just allowing that to flow through, and really getting a sense of what's underneath the worry, what's underneath the concern. And if there isn't anything you can do about it, or you've done everything that's possible to actually sort it out, to actually just let go to the universe and just allow it to sort itself out. Because these things, in my experience, do have a way of working out in the most sometimes bizarre way. But if we're too internal, if we're too focused on the what's going wrong, what else can go wrong, etc., you won't notice the way of actually coming out and flowing forward. So, as I say, I hope this makes sense. And we'll go with seeing what sound comes through from the universe to sort of back this particular storytelling up at the same time. I've had a song going through my head on and off all day as well, which was I can see clearly now, the rain has gone. And I have that real sense and underneath energy today of that, even though it possibly is feeling quite dark at the moment, and the rain has been quite bad, and everything's been cloaked, or you feel that you've opened stuff up and suddenly all the veils are closed again, that actually, if we put those worries down, or notice, as I say, notice where they come from, cut those cords, and really come back into your body, really come back into being connected with Earth, Gaia, Source, divine energy, and just sitting in that sort of feel and energy, that actually, like that song, we will be able to see clearly, because the rain would have dissipated, that those veils will start to come back. And just continuing to use the clear quartz to keep looking, and allowing it to go forward, and allowing it to clear in the time that it's meant to clear. That's the other thing. Sometimes we want things to have happened yesterday and the timing's not quite right, and we can push and make the timing today, and it can go horribly wrong. So it's really, I'm not saying don't do anything. Do what you need to do, make some steps, but not push it. And just so you can have that balance, that you've tried to sort stuff out and it's not worked, and just instead of getting more worked up and worried around that, actually letting that go and just allowing the universe to catch and hold. And I think that's what the Tower is the universe is holding us and enabling us to move forward, giving us the energy. It's when we become Chicken Little and worry too much that we lose too much energy, and that has that negative impact on our body. So really using that supportive and nurturing energy from the universe to go forward. So thank you very much for staying to the end of this and listening to the weaving of my stories tonight. I hope you have a good rest of the day. In the meantime, take care of yourself. Love you all. See you tomorrow. Bye.